Forms are an integral part of almost all applications. It's the default way to get the user input, but they are very popular but also very tricky. Today, I will show you how to validate forms using only HTML. Hi, my name is Tomasz and I'm a former tech lead and manager. Today, I will show you how to validate forms in React with no external libraries. With forms, we have a few ways of validation. We can use server-side validation and submit the form every time. We can use validation in form of just checking the input by ourselves on the onChange event, or we can use an external library bound to the form like Zod or something like this. But there is an unsung hero of validation, and this is built-in browser validation. And I will tackle this today. Every modern browser has a validation engine built in. It works the same in every major browser, so in Firefox, in Safari, in Chrome, in whatever. And it's very easy to do. So all you need to do is add a few attributes to the input field, and there you go. All right, so I will, as almost always, start with an empty Vite project with React and TypeScript. So npm create Vite at latest template React TS. Let's call it form validation. All right, form validation, and I will also add tailwind minus the tailwind CSS post CSS and auto prefix. Okay, and npx tailwind CSS init minus p. Good, npm I to install everything. Cool, everything is installed. Right, so we will see each other in the IDE in a minute. All right, so we are here. I've also installed Prettier to have auto formatting, and I've removed everything from index CSS and added the tailwind. So the first thing we want to do is to clear the whole up function because we will just use we won't use anything that's inside of that was inside the originally, right? We will build everything on our own. So the first thing I would like to do is to create a input component. So source components input slash it will be actually pretty easy, right? And I have it in here. This is a component taken from my React design system video. If you saw it, you most likely know how it looks. So this. And what I want to do is I want to build a form. So let's import the input. And in here, return, yeah, but let's return a form with action of empty class name margin auto max width, let's say 400. What else, and margin top, so it won't be, you know, a silly. Right, we have this, and now let's say also age 1. Okay, I will go with this. Sign up, maybe not text center. Sorry, maybe not text center. And now we would like to create like the fields itself, right? I know there should be a filter and whatever, but for convenience, I am just leaving as is. So margin bottom 2, grid columns, let's say 1FR, 2FR. So it will be it will be like 1/3 to 2/3. And in here we want label HTML4 name, and we want input. For now, let's just ID name, 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 and that's it, right? Let's add margin bottom 4 in here. And that's it, right? This is the first field. I will now just copy and paste this two more times, sorry. And this will be email, and in here, email, sorry, and password. So password, and type in here email as well, and in here type password. And let's add a button of type of submit and submit. And let's add a class name of what? Background blue 200, let's say. Uh, padding 2 and rounded. All right, so we have it, right? We have it. And submitting this, oh, because this already says about validation that this is a type email, so you already are asked to provide a proper format. It says in Polish, make sure the sign at is in the address email. Email address, sorry. In address ASD, there is no at sign. So unfortunately, this also works, right? So we can submit, and you can see it submitted properly. So by submitting, it just adds the parameters in the on the top. So we have this is the basics, right? These are the basics. But it also, there are no required fields, so it also sends the empty form as well. But if we go in this, it doesn't allow us because there's an error. So validating inputs in the browser is actually pretty straightforward. We can specify min length, sorry, of let's say 3. We can specify max length of, I don't know, 24 or 10. It will be better visible, and mark it as required. And now it says fill this field. And what is cool, I can go with whatever, but if I say this, extend this text to at least 3 characters. Right now you are using 2 characters. And I'm still typing, I am physically unable to cross the 10 signs threshold. So that's also cool. And we can do the same here. Min length, but maybe not required. It just will be an email. And for password, let's say we want minimum length of 8 and maximum length of 64 because we are secure. And yeah, fill this field. Perfect. And required, obviously. All right. So this is like the bare bones validation. It checks the length, it checks whether the field is filled, and it checks for an email in a very not so way, let's call it that way. See ASD at ASD, no domain, goes. So what we can do is we can let's say style it a bit better, right? Because right now there is just this ugly prompt, and I would prefer it to be a little nicer. So let's go to input, and let's say that if this is invalid, it will be border 500 red. But the problem now, I can remove everything. The problem now is it is red from the start. And this kind of sucks. I mean, you enter the web page and first thing you're seeing, hey, you made a mistake. I haven't even touched this field, so how? Well, we can circumvent this by creating, because there is something that is called user invalid. So the field is invalid, I mean, field is validated only after user interacts with it. Unfortunately, as of today, Tailwind doesn't support this. So we need to circumvent this by creating a module and calling it an input. And input, sorry, uh, user invalid. And in here, we can go border red 500, right? So now not this, but we are importing styles from input, and we are going styles dot input. Right now, as you can see, border is correct, and I am not typing anything, so it's cool. But if I try to go and just type 2 characters, it is highlighted. You see? Sorry for the ass. If I type 3 or more, it's not highlighted anymore. So that's what we wanted, right? We can go a bit further. Let's say we want to have an error message of string, and in here this and what p class name of hidden text small, let's say text red 500, and we want this to start, I mean, maybe no, let's start in column 2, and this is error message only if error message is available, right? And in here we can just say that error message is this field is required, and its length, it should be uh, 3 and 10 characters. I know this is a poor copywriting, but I'm not a good copywriter. And what we can do now, because right now it doesn't show, right? It's hidden. It still says hidden. What we can do is we can extend our module invalid to siblings. So every p that is in the neighborhood of, sorry, that is in the neighborhood of this input will, so let's go to the to here, right? So this is a direct neighborhood. They are on the same level in the DOM. So every element that's in the same neighborhood will get a display block. Maybe let's just go with margin top 1 and text x. Cool. So again, right? Perfect. And this is actually a lot more that you would expect, in my opinion. I would never expect that browser would allow me to do all these things. But we can go even further. In here we have an email, right? So the validation for the email is kind of poor, right? Because this is a valid email for the browser, which is not. I mean, I understand that someone maybe wants to, put, admin at local host, and this is a valid email for someone for like testing locally or whatever. But for the sake of it, let's do proper validation. I mean, it's not like super proper because, in my opinion, you should validate email in the on the back end, because this is like a nevralgic thing, or you should just do something like retype your email just to make sure people don't make mistakes in there. But for this, like the first frontier of validation, we can go with regex. Regular expressions are a very powerful tool in IT, and this will just match the pattern that we provide. And I wrote here a pattern some time ago that goes like this. It checks all alphanumeric signs and expect this to be at least one character long, and then it looks for the at sign, and then it does the same, so checks for the alphanumeric signs, and then expects a dot, and then again alphanumeric. We can go with this alphanumeric with at least two characters. So right now, if we go like this, please pass a value in a required format. So we can say error message that please enter a valid email address user at company domain, right? So we already have maybe. So we already have our validation in here. And it works. There's no .k, but there's .pl, there's .eu, .com. Perfect. Like I've said, for this one, I would strongly recommend using backend validation or some more robust validation in form of some validation library like Zod, because this is kind of shoddy, but nevertheless it works. We also have password, which we also can provide an error message. Password must be between 8 and 64 characters. We could also provide a pattern to require at least one large letter, one small letter. The same thing we did in here. I won't do this to save time, but this can be done. But what cannot be done via this browser-only validation is to verify two passwords. Like you can have this and you can have something like repeat password, right? And this won't work. Obviously, this has to be changed, but it won't work. Like you can go with, with this and here I'm typing whatever else, and it doesn't work. So it cannot be paired. It's not like form sensitive. It's just one field at a time. All right, so we have this. What else can we want? I would say I like to add like an error message in here. So let's say p of error, sorry, hidden text red 500, background red 100, padding 2, rounded margin bottom 2. It says please fix all errors before submitting the form. Let's see how it works. Yeah, it looks good. Maybe just text smaller to have it nicer. All right. So what we can do with this is we can, I'm sorry, I cut my hand some time ago. What we can do this is we can create another module that will say error, and we can basically apply all this to have it easier. And we can do the form in here as well. And before you say, I know this sometimes comes as an anti-pattern in the Tailwind world, but I believe this is far more comfortable than having super long classes and just repeating them over and over and over again. But if you prefer not to use this, you are obviously free to go, but this gives us more flexibility. So we can do something like this. Has user invalid, and then we are checking if the form itself has any field that is invalidated by user, and we just go with this apply block. So now we just need to import styles from the app, and in here it will be styles form. Sorry, what? Ah, right, it should be sorry, it should be app.module. My favorite mistake. Styles error. Right? Right. So now submitting this, we have the information. We can obviously extend this to form has user invalid to all the button. Now we can just say type submit and border red and cursor not allowed. Not allowed border. I don't remember, and I never know how to use borders in Tailwind, but okay, this is it. Yeah, and it's not possible to submit. Maybe opacity 500. Yeah, it looks terrible. No, without the border, sorry, it looks terrible. But okay, yeah. So these prompts aren't actually, unfortunately removable. They have to be there, but they are displayed according to your browser language, so that's cool at least. Right. So, but what we have right now is we validate all the fields in our form on user input without any external libraries. This is extremely useful when you have like a tiny little form that doesn't require complex validation that is, connected to each other, that you don't have like an interactive form that when you are, I don't know, selecting one thing, then the inputs are disappearing or appearing. So for small to medium forms, I believe this is the perfect solution. Not only because it doesn't require anything, because since we are doing this in React, we can put any JavaScript validation that we want, but it is completely detached from our app. So we don't need to worry about character length. We don't need to worry about I don't know, displaying messages, controlling the state of the form. It is all done in the browser. So yeah, and it works. And now it doesn't. So yeah, that's that, and thank you. Form validation came a long way from being completely non-existent in the browser and in the client on the client side in general, and only relying on the server validation, to writing simple functions that will count the characters in the input, to whole JavaScript libraries, to form managers, to finally being able to check everything within the browser without having to rely on JavaScript. Of course, every solution has its pros and cons. And if you are building a larger form, a larger application, the larger it is, the more questions arise. But for small to medium projects, I firmly believe that validation in the browser is a way to go. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and happy coding.